Hello and welcome back. In our previous video we looked at the basics of creating a Google tour, we looked at setting up the introduction slide, we looked at adding additional locations, and we did one. We reviewed the options for a location, such as putting a date, a description, some hyperlinks, multiple pictures, possibly a video. So what we'd like to look at now is how to finish out the tour. Okay, so I'm going to come back in and I'm going to click Edit so that I can get back into work on the tour. And basically at this point we can just hit Add a Location, and we can start to repeat the process that we undertook in the first slide. Now I'm going to pause the video for a minute here and I'm going to add the slides. There's no sense in you wasting your time watching me do the same thing. And we'll come back in a minute and we'll look at what any additional options are or how to basically finish up the presentation. Okay, I'm back. You can see that I now have a number of different locations or slides over on the left. I could continue to add to them down here. But let's say that I'm done. Let's say also that I decided that the order here is not something that I want. I've changed my mind, or I want to delete something. Well, if you wanted to delete a slide, you simply click on it and use the trash can over here. But in my case, let's say that I want to reverse these two. That's very simple. You simply click and you drag. Okay, and now you can see that Mawar Museum, I actually moved it up a little further than I wanted to. You can just click and drop it right on the one above or below it, and it'll swap out locations. Now previously we looked at how to create hyperlinks, and we created some hyperlinks to websites, which is great. I'm going to come down to my second to last slide here, and I'm going to show you one additional type of link you could create. So of course this link was simply to a website. This is Sunny and Tony's website. The second link, however, is to a Google map. Okay, so if you wanted to do something like this, you'd simply come over to maps.google.com, search for the thing, or scroll in, find the thing that you want to show on your map. So in this case, I'm just going to say Sunny and Tony's. There it is. Okay, now if I don't like this exact map, I can, change the terrain if I like. Or I can zoom in and out a little bit. I'm going to use, to zoom in and out, I'm going to hold down my control key and spin my mouse a little bit. And what you should notice up here is that the information in this URL is changing when I make these changes. So let me try it again and look up there at the URL. And you can see these numbers are changing, and that's really what specifies the map. It's a dynamic process that is created each time you click the link, and the information in the link is what determines the view. So when you get it the way you want it, you copy that and you come back and you use that as your link. So if I wanted to make another map link, of course I would simply select it, click link, and then put that address in here. Let's try that for a second. And say test the link. And if it opens full screen, I'm going to get that exact view. So that's a great feature with Google Maps. In this case, I don't need to, so I'm going to delete it. And let's come to our last slide. And let's look at making some of your own content in Google, in the Google environment, and posting links to that. So in this particular slide, if I check out the link I added there, you can see what it really is that it's a Google slide presentation. Okay, so if I wanted to include information in that way, or a Google Doc or a Google Sheet, I could do that easily. And then the other thing that I included here was a Google form where I'm getting some feedback on the tour itself. And of course I could do this as a quiz if I wanted. Anything I can do with Google Forms, I just need the address of that form. So the way to handle this is, let me come into my Google Drive. And you can see I've added those things in here. So here's my tour of Mawa. That's a Google slide presentation. The important thing to remember here is after you create it, you have to share it correctly. And what I did is I shared it, if you come to Advanced, I shared it with anyone who has the link can view it. Okay, so you're going to have different settings depending on whether you're on a school account, which is a G Suite account, or whether you're on a personal account. We've talked about permissions and length already. But you have to remember to change this. If you don't, if you leave this as private, specific people, it's going to work for you because you are the owner of the document, but you're going to get an unpleasant surprise when people go to use the tour. So make sure anyone with a link, or anyone from your district with a link, or something along those lines, public, there's no reason it can't be, whatever. And in the case of the Google Tour, which I have down here, you don't have to worry so much about permissions on a Google form, because a form is meant to be distributed to people all over, and all they really need is the link for that. So right now I opened it up and I'm in edit mode so that I could change things if I want. We don't want to share that link. I mean, if we do, they're not going to really be able to do that anyway if they're not logged in correctly, if they don't have permissions. But what you can do is you can use this little eye up here, and here's a link that you can use right there. So you copy that. So this is as a user would see it, except that they wouldn't see the option to go in and edit it. And you simply take that, you take it back to your, where's my tour? There it is. And when you create the hyperlink, I'll just put form here for the moment. And I can select this in a variety of ways. I can double click it, I can drag over with my mouse, I can use my keyboard. And then when I establish the link here, and if we test it, you'll see that that form comes up. Now again, I'm getting the option to edit it because I'm logged in as me, but other people won't get that option. Okay, the sky's really the limit here. You can take your own photographs, you can upload those into the environment. Anything you can basically get a link to, you can make as part of your tour. And that really gives you the opportunity to make it a richer experience and to tailor it to your own needs. Okay, when you're complete with that, let's look at some options over here. We have this Open in Google Earth option, and we're going to look at Google Earth in a subsequent week. But if we say Open in Google Earth, what you're going to notice here is that right now this tour is private. So only people who have been given permission can see it. Now it gives you the shortcut to say anyone with the link can see it right here. And if I save that, that's one way to adjust the permissions. Okay, so that's one thing I could have done. I didn't do it. I'm going to say done editing here for a second. Other options when you're not in edit mode would be to play full screen. Okay, so that simply gets rid of the menu up on the top. So it saves you a little bit of space here. Not a big deal. And you can click on that to get out of that. It'll come back. Okay, you can open in Earth again, same thing we did before. You can export this. Now if you export it, you have the option of downloading it as a KML file. That's a file that works very well. It's a map format, so it's great. You can import that into various different applications that support that format, or you can download it as a CSV. And that's just a way to be able to transfer this to somebody else. Okay, you can also make a copy of it. So if I did this now, and it's going to give me this name by default, I can always change that, and I'll just say copy the tour. I'll say done editing for that one. And then if I come back to Tour Builder, at the top level, you'll see when I go into my tours, there's the revised version, there's the original version. And if you want to make two slightly different versions, that's a great way to do it because most of my work is already done here. Now I can just open a different a different version of it, and I can make the edits, and I can have two similar but slightly different versions. Options over here, of course, were to preview, edit. I'm going to delete this one because I don't really need it. You can export it from this window as well, or you can make a copy from it from that window as well. One additional thing I'd like to point out is that if you were to go to your Google Drive and you were to search for this Mawa tour, okay, you can see that the name there is Tour of Mawa, so you would expect the file to have the same name. If you search for that, you're not going to find it. So unlike most things Google, it is not storing a copy of this tour locally in your drive. Even if you create a Google site or something like that, you tend to find the file in your drive, but that's not the case here. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed or learned something from this series of videos on Google Tour Builder. Excellent, excellent, fun tool in order to present information or to gather information, organize it in a different way. It's great for teachers, but it's especially great for students to give them a project like this. They can get very creative while still keeping the focus on high quality work. It'll involve their skills in research, organization, writing, and deciding what type of additional information they would link to this in order to make it an effective presentation.